Minister.
Islam.
Oh, still charged up from this morning.
Yeah.
Took a nap or took a power nap, but woke up and was looking forward to this class.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. All saying I.
Yes, sir. I give the people something, little something to look at while until our class starts. This will open up the way.
Absolutely a great thing to send positive energy. Great thing. I'll be back, sir.
Okay.
No.
Brother Rice, I miss you, brother. Mr. Musa, was y'all able to open up the file that I put on your thread?
Yes, sir. I was able to open it up and
Okay.
listen to John Heiberman.
Yes.
Where the woman was interviewing him.
Yeah, he talked a little fast, but the information he's dropping is powerful.
Yeah,
he's close attention to it.
Yeah, he was on point. He was speaking in terms of, again, of where all the truth seems to come from, not from outside, but within.
Yes.
We need to attract what we want, and we need to be the example of what we bring towards us, and be receptive. And those are the things that I heard was being being what we want to attract, and being receptive once it comes in, being accepting. Because it's in essence accepting yourself once you've made it a part of you.
Yes. Yes. The brother, I think KRS-One, we watched that. I think the minister, we watched it on the screen one time. He was talking about we come from inner space,
right,
opposed to outer space. It's an unfolding.
Right. Islam, he identifies as a metaphysician.
Yes.
KRS-One, and what he did was one of the things he did was put the word rock star.
Yes. Yes.
And said without using your mouth, say the word rock star to yourself. And he said, "Did you hear it?" So where does that come from? You didn't use your voice.
Right.
You didn't use your ears to hear it, yet you heard it.
You heard it and seen it.
And said it. Right. So again, that's a very good example of what is inside. What the intuition. You're so hung up on these five senses out here that you forget to exercise those inner senses, that intuition.
Yes.
Those things that come, that conscious, that subconscious needs to be trained as well. You need to make sure that you are filtering the right things through that subconscious, because the subconscious is working whether you're working or not.
Yes.
And it might hear some things it's not supposed to hear. Catch on to something you didn't already incorporate it in you, not even realizing. I had this conversation with my wife a lot about what you're watching on that television, that television. You are internalizing that. You're consuming that in the same manner that you consume food. And it is doing things to your psyche. That's why they call it programming.
Yeah.
It literally is programming. Its intent is to program your brain and do what they want you to do. That's why these corporate Americans spend so much money on these commercials.
Wow, they spend millions.
Well, because it's a fail-safe thing. If I'm able to broadcast to, say, 3 million people, and I get out of it 500,000 customers, I've done my work. With just using your tools that you have, and then you're carrying it around. You got it on your phone now. So anyway, I don't know if you were paying attention, but keep that phone locator on, and you walk past a particular store, the store will say, "Hey, I was shopping at this store."
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So they going all out with this thing, and you have to be very mindful of being slaves to this thing here.
Yes.
Because a lot of us are doing everything off of this, and if we lose it, we feel lost.
Feel lost. That's
And
why I say if I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna use it for what we doing now, and that way, I can. I'm not justifying anything, but if I'm gonna use this instrument, I'm gonna use it in a constructive way, to to reach thousands about people. Just like this eye on the screen, right? In the center of it, uh, that's when you look through that center, you see the memory. The memory, the actions is one of the actions of our soul that we ought to pay closer attention to, because that's that storehouse of information. And the Grand Ass Chairman used to always talk about that Allah, the great God of the universe, had put freedom in the memory of everything that He made. Although our people been hit so hard in the head, black, Negro, colored, and they don't know what freedom is. We had to take them through the process of the Great Awakening. Because once they start to wake up, that memory the freedom lies within that memory, and they start to remember who they are. Things are unveiled to you. I bear witness. I bear witness to it because of my life has changed so much on so many, on a grand scale. I love just sitting in my car and meditating and looking within and experiencing the vibrations that I feel, from meditating. It sends a thrill through from the center to the outer bounds of your body. It raises your body to a higher tone. As Prophet said in the Holy Quran, there's a substance in the body that raises it to a higher tone. Yeah. Them chakras. Once those chakras start opening, Islam. 5 more minutes, or it's time.
It's fine, but I think we better give a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Will I be opening up the meeting, or somebody else do that before me?
The prayer?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can do the prayer if and then make sure that I introduce you in as the host of this program.
Okay.
And I can read the Divine Constitution if Freeman L don't come on.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I got a book called Behind the Veil. Guy was asking me the other day, if you got all these past lives, why can't you remember? I said, because in front of between each past lives, it's a veil. Yeah.
I just am still so fascinated on how everything is based on the 7.
Mm-hmm.
Cycles, life cycles, hour cycles, cellular cycles, days of the week. Everything is based on the 7. It's mind blowing to me. It's all in nature. It's all in what we call outer space. It's in everything, and there's no mistake. It's no spookism in it.
Right.
We still duck and dodge signs, but the signs are obvious, and we make ourselves oblivious to it. What's being presented to you, especially if you're keeping yourself clean and whole and pure, and this is an everyday thing. Your mind is receptive. You draw those things in, and it's amazing. I'll be driving and get inspiration, man. I'll be like, okay, I got a file that I can't. So I'll even do a voice recording, so that I, mark it down in time and make sure that I go back to it. It's every time we start thinking about studying something outside, it always comes back to studying yourself first. Everybody, know thyself and know thy creator. If you know yourself. Now, is this on Facebook?
Yes.
Okay.
And we on YouTube.
Streaming live on YouTube. Islam. Islam Secretary of State and Islam Goddess Williams El-Bey.
Islam.
Wow.
Islam.
Wow.
Yeah, Minister Nicole William El-Bey. This morning, we was basically experimenting with that app. I said, let me go ahead and get that started and figure out how this works. And I just I reached out to the both for the deputies, and I didn't even see. I don't know if they say the only people that you can invite in is the people who are followers or on that. And I didn't see your. I got to go back and check and see if your name is in the group, because I think you can open it up to anybody, because the group is going to be geared more to everyone. We're going to open it up to everyone because I'm using it as a recovery room for our family to come in and recover.
Islam.
But
if we can work on like how to ping people in.
Yes.
We can also share. We can share it. So that's just people, as they say, in the hallway. Okay. So if we share it, people in the hallway can see it as well. Okay. And then if for all of us that follow different people, we can also ping them into the room, then they can ping people. Okay. So we can start the growth process. Islam.
Okay.
Islamism. I am Deputy Counsel General Dr. Saraya Rihum Musa Pretabulu Bey of the Maryland Council of the Moorish American Theocratic Government, rising, giving praise to the Almighty God Allah, His Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Maryland Consulate, our theocratic government, all my Moorish kin, everything that is Moorish, all the youth, and yet more. Say peace, love, and gratitude. We'll start with the Moorish American prayer. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen.
Islam. I'm Dr. Malik El-Bey, Counsel General of the Maryland Consulate. And first and foremost, I rise and give praise to Almighty God Allah, giving honor to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, give honor to El-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. I want to give honor to our theocratic government of Moorish America, all of our officials of Moorish America. Give honor to all of our children of Moorish America. Give honor to all of our people all over the planet Earth of Moorish America for being indigenous to the planet Earth. And I want to give honor where honor is due, give honor to this class. Praise be to Almighty God, Allah. Salvation, our God, unity. The divine constitution of Moorish America. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of Moorish America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The bylaws, Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh. And on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God, Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of the said government and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted to 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and partial of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful husband. You must support your wife and children. Wife, you must, subhanAllah, must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. Islam, Islam, Islam.
Islam, Islam, Islamism. Again, I rise giving praise to the great God Allah, His Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the forerunner Marcus Messiah God. I am Dr. Saraya Rihun Musa Pretabulu Bey, Dr. Musa Bey for short. And welcome to We Are a Microcosm of the Macrocosmic Universe Children's Zoom class today. Today, we'll be reading chapter 14 from our Circle 7. The host of today's class is Minister Anwar Ali El, the Senior Deputy Counsel General of the Maryland Consulate, Moorish American Theocratic Government. The title of today's lesson, Acceptance is the Key to Liberation. The objective, to take a deeper look within our mental file cabinet. Our master words of study for today to be defined are desires, addiction, abate, abdicate, contemplation, acceptance, and liberation. The resources from the book, The Exhument of a Nation, A Peek into Mental Slavery. The early pages 29 and 30 of the preface preface of the book. Then there from page 39, it would be The Secret Science. From YouTube, we'll have an educational video. We do not own the rights to the video. We use them for educational purposes only. The name of the video is entitled Self-Acceptance and Emotional Repression. The question on the floor when the floor is open up is, when do we begin with this deeper look into our mental file cabinet? Excuse me, subhanAllah, where do we begin with this deeper look into our mental file cabinet? And I will now begin reading the chapter from the Circle 7, a Holy Quran of Moorish America, entitled Yehoshua Spake on the Unity of Allah and Man to the Hindus. Benares is the sacred city of the Brahms. And in Benares, Yehoshua taught Udraka was his host. Udraka made a feast in honor of his guests, and many high-born Hindu priests and scribes were there. And Yehoshua said to them with much delight, I speak to you concerning life, the brotherhood of life. The universal Allah is one, yet he is more than one. All things are one. By the sweet breath of Allah, all life is bound in one. So if you touch a fiber of a living thing, you will send a thrill from the center to the outer bounds of life. And when you crush beneath your foot the meanest worm, you shake the throne of Allah and cause the sword of life to tremble in its sheath. The bird sings out its song for men, and men vibrate in unison to help it sing. The ant constructs its home. The bee is sheltering comb. The spider weaves her web, and flowers breathe to them a spirit in their sweet perfume. It gives them strength to toil. Now men and birds and beasts and creeping things are deities made flesh. How dare you kill anything? It is cruelty that makes the world awry. When men have learned that when they harm a living thing, they harm themselves, they surely will not kill, not cause a thing that Allah has made to suffer pain. A lawyer said, I pray you, Yehoshua, tell who is this Allah you speak about? Where are his priests, his temples, his shrines? And Yehoshua said, the Allah I speak about is everywhere. He cannot be compassed with walls, nor hedged about with bounds of any kind. All people worship Allah, the one. All the people see him not alike. This universal Allah is wisdom, will, and love. All men see not the triune Allah. One sees him as Allah of might, another as a law of thoughts, another as a law of love. A man's ideal is his God, and so, as man unfolds, his God unfolds. Man's God today, tomorrow is not God. The nations of the earth see Allah from different points of view, and so he does not seem the same to everyone. Man names the part of Allah he sees, and this, to him, is all of Allah. Every nation sees the part of Allah, and every nation has a name for Allah. You Brahmins call him Parabrahm. In Egypt, he is Thoth, and Zeus is his name in Greece. Jehovah is his name, his Hebrew name. But everywhere, he is the causeless cause, the rootless root from which all things have grown. When men are afraid of Allah and take him for a foe, they dress up other men in fancy garbs and call them priests. And they charge them to restrain the wrath of Allah by prayer. And when they fail to win his favor by their prayers, to buy him off with sacrifice of animals or birds. When man sees Allah as one with him, as Father Allah, he needs no middleman, no priest to intercede. He goes straight up to him and says, "My Father God Allah." And then he lays his hand in Allah's own hand, and all is well. And this is Allah. You are, each one, a priest just for yourself. And the sacrifice of blood, Allah does not want. Just give your life in sacrificial service to the all of light, and Allah is pleased. When Yehoshua had thus said, he stood aside. The people were amazed, but strove among themselves. Some said, he is inspired by the Holy Brahm. Others said, he is insane. And others said, he is obsessed. He speaks as devils speak. While Yehoshua tarried not, among the guests was one, a tiller of the soil, a generous soul, a seeker after truth, who loved the words that Yehoshua spoke, and Yehoshua went with him, and in his home abode. Islam. Is there anything that you would like to say, Minister Anwar, before we go into the Master Words of Study?
Yeah, I just wanted to, once again, I rise, give praise to the great God, Allah, honors to his prophets, honor to the last prophet, these days and time, prophet Noah, Jew, Ali. I give honor to the Royal Council of the Moorish American government, all the officials, all the citizens. Give honor where honor is due. Give honor to all of you. Give honor to this Maryland Council Zoom meeting this evening and everyone in attendance. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly, because this is a powerful chapter, you know, and I hear other people's perception of certain things, spiritual, and I think to myself, how misinformed they have been by ministers and priests, you know, and I just wanted to read Ayat 9 and 10. It says, now men and birds and beasts and creeping things are deities. Reason being is because Allah created them. Then it goes on to say the deities made flesh. And how dare you kill anything? It is cruelty that makes the world orderly. When men have learned that when they harm a living thing, they harm themselves. They surely will not kill, nor cause a thing that Allah has made to suffer pain. You know, and before I came into this movement, you know, if I see a roach crawling around on the floor without even thinking, no, matter of fact, there is a thought that comes before that action. You know, just automatically step on them. Spiders, step on them. A bee buzzing around you, swinging at them. I don't do none of that no more. None of it, you know. And where I'm living at now, some spiders, but all the other bugs and stuff, you just don't exist. You know, somebody told me if you keep a clean house, you won't have roaches, because they was here before us. Anyway, peace and love.
So, peace and love. To speak on that, let me also bring in our Council General, Council General Malik El-Bey of the Maryland Council. Any words that you have for that chapter, Minister?
Islam, already risen and given praise and honor to our Father God Allah, and giving honor to our Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I'm just honored to be, have the opportunity to grow and unfold properly according to the holy instructions of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and you know, following the Prophet's Noble Drew Ali's instructions, I'm able to see myself on a whole nother level. I'm able to see how I and my Father God are one. I'm able to see so many things on a whole nother level. I used to look so much outside of myself. You know that saying, we was looking for love in all the wrong places. However, meeting the Prophet and following the Prophet's instructions, you know, he showed us which way, the nearest place we can meet love. And that's the nearest place we can meet love is in the heart. So that will change your whole perception about things. I know that when the minister said, when he see an insect or something like that, and his whole perception about, you know, crushing that insect is totally different. He don't even see things the same, you know, because he understands that insect has a purpose. And this is how you begin to think when you look from within, when you getting closer, when you are going within the heart to meet your Father God Allah, which is the nearest place. So as you go within and you see things on your whole perspective of things, or what life is actually spent to build, is totally different, you know, and you care more about things. You care more about, you know, everything that Allah created. You know, I'm gonna just stop right there. I want to hold up the class, but I'm excited and I'm just honored to be a part of this this class. Islam gratitude.
Gratitude, Minister, for those words of wisdom, and camelbacking off of what Divine Minister Ali said, Ali L said. I just got to a point where I walked past the insects. Insects ain't bothering me. The insect, I'm not bothering the insect. My wife was them, you know, they say all the time, how come these mosquitoes ain't bothering you? Because I ain't bothering them. You know, I'm not waving, fanning the ethers up or whatnot, just moving. So I do see the change. It's amazing how many things are much more clearer when you change from, you know, looking outside to looking within and going from within out. it matters greatly, because if you're coming from within, normally your intent is to spread love. So that's what's coming out. That's what you're projecting. That's what you want to see, because as I see my brother, as I see my sister, I see myself. And I don't want anything to happen to them that I wouldn't want to have happen to me. So that's how we're supposed to be looking at it. I believe it was the going back into the times of Mahat and going back into Kemet. I believe it was Akhenaten that was the one that brought it to fruition about how he wouldn't even harm a butterfly. He wouldn't harm an insect, and started bringing the monotheistic view, and out of one is many, and out of many is one. And of course, like the priest here in the previous chapter, some of them said, "Oh, he's crazy. He's lost his mind. He's insane." But others who were looking for truth was like, "You know what? That's what I wanted to hear, and I'm going wherever he's following him." Because now I can trust you. When I see that you're speaking the words of the Father God Allah, my intent is to get to the deific will. So I'm going with brother who's lined up like that. I want to follow him. I'm not. So you don't even see the slicksters and the hustlers any further. As far as guidance, once you start putting yourself on the straight path. So we will get into our master words of study. We'll call on Moors to come up with the definition of these master words. The first master word, and these words will relate to the lesson that will be taught by our divine minister, Anwar Aliel. First word is desires. Do I have any Moors who have the definition for desire? Secretary of State Sharon Khadijah Bey, Islam.
Islam, Mr. Sharon Khadijah Bey, rise, giving praise to God Allah, honors to his prophet, honors due, honors to divine guidance, honors to Act One, honors to all the Moors on this panel and in this class and on social media, and most important honors to our children and citizens. For desire, I had desire, something that is desired wholeheartedly and forcefully. Islam.
Mute your mic, man.
Did you hear me?
Gratitude for that measure, Secretary of State. And I want to speak clearly because you gave the definition, but the word is the plural of that word, desires. So applying her meaning to the plural of the word. Minister Ali, I see you. Let me go over to Goddess Williams El-Bey, and then I'll come to you. Islam. Islam, Goddess.
Islam. I wanted to read the definition from the Science of Mind. Half desire. Half-hearted wishing must not be confused with desire. Our wishing is always capricious. We long for one thing today, and tomorrow our attention is directed elsewhere. Desire is that something which impels us to reach out and take our own. This is the divine urge which, operating as law, produces energy, and energy must find an outlet. This is why suppressed desire often produces discord and discomfort. Desire for anything is the thing itself. This means that legitimate desire is the voice of spirits in you, trying to indicate that the thing you desire is already on its way to you. Before they call, will I answer? Islam.
Gratitude, goddess, for that measure, and gratitude for that explanation. What say you, Brother Anwar?
Islam having already risen. I had the same definition as the goddess did.
Islam.
Islam.
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
You know, they say, if you don't want more to think, don't put it out there. You put it out in the ethers. And that's the mind's thinking alike. When I see that word desires, I start getting a tone of selfishness. You know, that's the, of most times when people are talking about desire, I don't know if their desire is for, say, the upliftment of their people. You know, that's normally about some selfish gain. Islam Council General.
It's Islam. I can recall over, some time back before coming into the movement and experiencing these impulses and not knowing what they actually were. And when you called on me earlier and I said I was looking for love in all the wrong places, I didn't actually know that I was looking for love, but I was looking for something. So now I know it was a desire to be fulfilled. The only thing different now and then, back then, I didn't know what to fill it with. So I was chasing. I had to fill it with something. And this impulse, I wind up looking, trying to fulfill it with drugs and alcohol and sex and things outside of myself to try to cool it off or try to quiet it down. But the more that I did that, the worse that it got. So I just wanted to use that real life experience as an example in trying to satisfy that impulse, which is actually a divine urge. Islam?
Islam, gratitude for sharing that understanding. What comes to my mind as symbolism is when I did play basketball or football, I used to slip up and try to quench my thirst with a soda. So I would, swill the soda down because it was ice cold, and then find out, after drinking it, I was still thirsty. And so still have to go back and find that water. And the water did the trick every single time, because that's what I'm supposed to have anyway. That soda is the illusion. That's why they gotta sell it. They gotta put all these tricks and gizmos on it, and it's Sprite and it's lemony lime and everything that is virtual as opposed to the lemon in the actual lime. Always has to be something that is virtual or created as opposed to the natural item. The next master word of study is addiction. And I have some more for the measure of the meaning of addiction. Islam Council General.
Yes, addiction. Addiction is a brain disorder characterized by compulsive engagement in rewarding stimuli despite adverse consequences. A variety of complex neurobiological and psychosocial factors are implicated in the development of addiction. Islam?
Islam, gratitude for that measure, Council General, that definition. Minister Anwar, what say you?
Islam having already risen. Addiction. An addiction is a chronic dysfunction of the brain system that rewards motivation, motivation, and memory. It's about the way our body craves for a behavior or substance. The key word is crave.
Are you finished, sir?
Islam.
All right, gratitude. Gratitude for that measure. Anybody else for the term addiction? Islam. The next master word of study is abate. A-B-A-T-E. Abate. Is your hand up, Minister Anwar, for that word as well?
Yes, I got a different word.
Okay, abate.
Islam, abate, to decrease in force or intensity, to become defeated or become null and void. Islam.
Islam, gratitude for that.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, abate, a verb of something perceived as hostile, threatening, or negative, become less intense or widespread, the storm subtly abated. I guess that's an example of how to use it in a verb form. Islam, gratitude.
Gratitude for that measure, Council General. Anyone else for the term abate? The next term, abdicate. Abdicate. Anyone with the definition? Secretary of State, Sharon Khadijah Bey.
Islam. You're saying advocate.
A-B D-I-C-A-T-E. Abdicate. Like, I can use it as in a sentence, and the king wanted to marry a woman not of royal blood, so he was to abdicate his throne.
Islam. I thought it was advocate, like when you I had the wrong definition.
Islam. All right, gratitude. Goddess Williams El-Bey.
Islam, abdicate, fail to fulfill or undertake responsibility or duty. Islam.
Islam. Islam. And the definition in my example for abdicate, it is when you have a duty, but you have resigned yourself from that duty. So to no longer fulfill the duties is absolutely what you're doing. Abdicate. Abdicate. I remember clearly, when I was in school, and of course they was giving me a bunch of European history, and they were talking about this woman from Maryland, of all places, that she was aligned to marry a royal, a earl of something, and he abdicated his position so that he could marry this woman, and they made it into some type of romantic love story and whatnot. But I just remember clearly the teacher was so excited that, oh, she was from Maryland. It mattered very little to me, but I digress. Hey, next master word of study is contemplation. Islam, General.
No, my hand was it was up for the other word.
No, for abdicate.
Yes.
It's Islam, abdicate.
Was to surrender, to renounce or relinquish as sovereign power, to withdraw definitely from filling or exercising as a high office, station, dignity, as to abdicate the throne, the crown, the papacy, to fail to fulfill responsibility for. And we can look at that with the Moorish. We can see how that word can be used with the Moorish in the process of us coming into our own. you know, failing to accept the responsibility to uplift fallen humanity on a national and international level. So yeah, we see that word in motion right there. Islam gratitude.
Islam, yeah, that's gratitude for all the measures that were given that abdicate. It's pretty powerful because it's a powerful thing, not in having the station, but it is powerful in accepting the duty and the responsibility and then fulfilling it, because that is doing the job, and especially if you're doing the job on behalf of your people and for the things that we need going forward. That is magnificent. So to abdicate it, I would imagine would take a serious undertaking, some serious thought and contemplation before you decided that it would be more wise for you to abdicate that position or so forth. And again, now the word is contemplation. Contemplation. Islam, I got the goddess hand, I got two goddesses. Anwar, Council General, your hand still up? Or your hand's gone? Okay. Let me start off with the Secretary of State, Sharon Khadija Bey, Islam.
Islam, for contemplate, I had to think heavily on an idea or situation. Contemplate. Islam.
No, that's exactly what I was describing as far as, if you're going to abdicate a throne or abdicate a position, I would think you would have to do some long, serious contemplation before, coming up and making such a decision. Islam, some gratitude for that measure. Goddess Nicole Williams El-Bey.
Islam, my measure is similar. Reflection, thinking, thought, act of holding an idea continuously before the mind. Islam.
Islam. Yeah, and when you're entertaining things of a deep, deep nature, it is best to have contemplation, and maybe then to contemplate again, and maybe again before ultimately coming to a decision. It's not wise to be rash because of that ripple effect of how many people that it may affect. You drop that rock in the water, and you may not see the effects, but that ripple effect is widespread, and that vibration is widespread. So who knows? So be very mindful when you're making said decisions. Islam. Minister Anwar.
Islam. Contemplation. Contemplation means to admire something and think about it. The word contemplation comes from the Latin word contemplato. Islam.
Islam. I thought you was going to break that down for me. What the root word was and everything like that. That's what I like to do with one gratitude for your measure. I definitely like to do it with these types of words, because as a child, when I was learning these things, it would help me to understand what the definition was, why definition was such, because what the prefix meant would actually be in the definition. What the root word meant would be in the definition, and what the suffix meant would be in the definition. So that would be the sum total of the definition. And that's how I brought, learning a language back to mathematics, is that even in learning the language, you have to do some addition and subtraction to come up with what you ultimately come up with as a word. So mathematics is everywhere, That was one of the things I came across very early in life. I was so attracted to math. I would even correlate letters to numbers, and then I found out that numbers and letters are pretty much the same thing anyway. So, anyone else with a definition for contemplation? Next master word of study, we have acceptance. Acceptance. And I have any more input on the definition of acceptance? And was your hand raised?
It was from last time. I'll come back in.
Islam. Anyone else?
Islam.
Islam.
I have what is acceptance in psychology? Psychological acceptance is the act of embracing of subjective experience, particularly distressing experiences. The idea is not merely to grudgingly tolerate negative experiences, but to embrace them fully and without defense. And I read that and I had to go there because I remember, early on, coming through the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And, that was one of the hardest things that I couldn't understand how I had to accept my addiction. I had to accept, but this definition describes the purpose of accepting defeat, because although it didn't make sense to me at that time, because I didn't have the insight and the understanding of what the acceptance process in overcoming addiction was all about. All I was looking at was I was admitting that this thing beat me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to humble myself to that concept. And the more I struggled with that, the more I chased something to try to satisfy that impulse. So this definition of acceptance is very right. Just what it says. The idea is not merely to grudgingly tolerate negative experiences, but to embrace them fully and without defense. Without defense. So that's a powerful definition for what acceptance means in psychology. Islam, gratitude.
Gratitude for that measure, Council General. Islam. Senior Deputy Council General, Anwar Ali El. Anwar Agu Ali El. Islam.
Islam was having already risen. Acceptance in human psychology, another psychology, is a person's assent to the reality of a situation, recognizing a process or condition, often a negative or uncomfortable situation, without attempting to change it or protect it. Islam. And I just want to add one more thing to like Council John was saying. I learned in the same arena that acceptance don't always mean you like something. You know what I mean? It's just that, okay, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. And move on. Islam.
Islam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Islam. That's just like the word denial. And in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, I learned that I was in denial about my addiction. But when I came into and I started studying science of the mind, there's a positive way of looking at denial. Like anything that does not belong to me is impersonal. Addiction is not it doesn't belong to me, basically. So the denial that it speaks about in the science of the mind is not of the spirit. It's not of the spirit. So anything that I deny that's not of the spirit is something that it's something basically that had a beginning. It had a beginning, and it also will have an ending. So, I'm denying that which is not I was born with, basically, or that's not of the spirit. I just wanted to use that example because sometimes those two words, acceptance and denial, if not looked at correctly, it will have an adverse effect on the individual that's trying to get an understanding of those two words. So I just wanted to give that example along with acceptance, since we are in this realm of understanding and dealing with addiction and everything. Because I kind of says I got an idea where the master might be going.
Islam. I'm gratitude for both of you all for bringing your personal insights and experiences to the table. We don't know who's listening. We may be helping somebody that we don't know. Just putting it out there for the assistance. So gratitude for that. When I heard you all giving your definitions, the word that kept coming to my mind is acquiesce. Acquiesce. It's something, and it's not very tasteful. It's not something that you want to have to deal with, but you have to deal with it because you have to get over it. So, we acquiesce to it, but we make certain that we know that we're moving forward to get beyond it, come out of that hole. So, again, gratitude for that measure. There are no more definitions for acceptance. The last master word of study is liberation. Liberation. I have any more come through with their definitions of liberation? Liberation. Islam.
Islam haven't already risen. Liberation. Liberation is the act of setting alone, setting some. Islam. Liberation.
Take your time.
The act of setting someone free from slavery, oppression, release. And then I continued with, we can free ourselves through our thought, studying ourselves. We can free ourselves. It's not always up to someone else. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Islam. Goddess, did you have your hand up?
Islam, I did, but we have the almost same definition. Act of setting free from restraint or confinement. Islam.
Gratitude. Our definition was coming from, they use it as a psychology or social psychology, which I think applies into what this lesson is. That liberation is an approach to psychology that aims to actively understand the psychology of oppressed and impoverished communities by conceptually and practically addressing the oppressive socio-political structure in which they exist. So from that perspective, let me first say, from hearing how Europeanized that sounded, like the liberals like to come and assist those from what they consider to be socioeconomic depressed backgrounds. What I get from it, coming from our perspective, coming from Moore's perspective, is the uplift that you're trying to bring somebody to understand that you have the power to free yourself, I am only unlocking the key for you to do what is in your possession and your power to do. And it just was me to help you realize it. Islam Council General.
Islam, I have, what does spiritual liberation mean? Spiritual liberation results from discovering and expressing the intrinsic qualities of enlightened consciousness that have been ours since the moment we came into existence. Simply put, all that is required to live up to our highest potential is already inside us, awaiting our conscious activation.
Islam. Gratitude for that definition coming from a spiritual perspective, because it is going to take you delving in to your spirituality, to your place that you go to. You know, you're going to have to deal with the sum total of who you are, you know, because if we're dealing with, you know, speaking in terms of addiction, and, you know, most of us are speaking, when we're speaking of addiction, normally they're talking about narcotics. That's a deep hole to come out of, you know, and especially if it's been a way of life 10, 15, nearly 20 years or so. And, you know, some might have been in the culture of distributing the narcotic. Some might have been in the culture of using narcotic. Some might have been on both sides of that lane. And just being in the atmosphere, there's I had a membership and still have a membership at the Arch Social Club, but I haven't been down there in a while now. But when I would go down to the Element, I would see, you know, you would be in the midst of an open air drug market, and there is a frenzy. Now, it's ironic because in my mind, when I first saw it, I compared that chaos and that frenzy to the same thing that I saw demonstrated on Wall Street. You know, the same commerce, trade and sell, and et cetera. And there was, you know, people look like they've lost their minds. You know, they're screaming things that they wouldn't normally scream and saying these terms. And you know, people are in a frenetic nature. And they're all operating in, you know, if you don't understand that language, you don't understand the lingo, you know, you can get swallowed up very quickly in that. So I noticed that, you know, and I imagine that it just must have been how I was carrying myself, because when I first started coming down there, one of the brothers that would be out there every day was, you know, like, hey, good brother, how are you? Hey, let us clean up this front, so you're not walking through this mess. You know, so we actually got a broom and swept in the front of our social club. It was actually having people not do the nonsense, at least right there in front of the art social club. So they were having respect for, you know, the club itself, and respect for we as brothers that walked in and out of there that held ourselves in a certain esteem. But yeah, that is I see that it frightens a lot of people when they see it, you know, but unfortunately, I have been conditioned to it because I was born on Boone Street, around the corner from Greenmount Avenue. And when my father would put me on his shoulders and walk me around to the store, I saw that open air market. He would go right through it. And then I noticed as soon as he got out there, everything changed. Hey, Mo, hey, Lee Mo, because his name was Musa, but they called him Mo, you know, or Lee Mo from his previous incarnation of Leon Moses. So he was, but he was held in an esteem. So they would actually be shamed to do something in front of him. But once he left off the block, it was back to business as usual. So again, gratitude for all the measures given for the defining of the master words of study, and We will now have Senior Deputy Counsel General Dr. Anwar Ali L. Reed from Exhuming of a Nation, A Peek into Mental Slavery. And it is pages, the preface pages 29 and 30. Islam.
For anyone looking for that's the Roman numbers in the front of the book. Yeah. Can't hear you, Mr. Mitchell.
SubhanAllah. XXIX.
Yes.
And XXX.
Absolutely.
Islam.
Islam. Before I get started, the definitions and the resources that I'm gonna speak from, and I may not read all of it, just the meat of it to give us an idea that that mental slavery ties right into addiction. And I use that term because some of us will get obsessed with things, go out our way of trying to prove something, and not realize that they caught up in the grip of addiction. You know, because addiction is not just actually addiction is physical, mental, and spiritual. So you may not have used drink or drug at all in your life, but there's that one habit that's wreaking havoc in your life, and you can't even see it. You can't even see it. So we have to look within. It says a peek into mental slavery, a peek into what Noble Drew Ali describes as
I think he's buffeting over there. It's
Islam.
froze, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to
I could speak on that addiction for a minute until they come back.
sure.
The two things that I know I've learned in the process of learning about addiction, because addiction don't always, I know drugs and alcohol is one of the things that come to people's mind when you say addiction. The two things that make up addiction is obsession and compulsion. And those are the two things that make up addiction. And I could see when one becomes obsessive and the compulsive of trying to satisfy a desire. I can see, the whole form of energy being used in a destructive way, very in a destructive way most of the time, trying to gratify, that lower self or try to gratify that desire. And how mental slavery can be taught, where everything started in the head. And I think the words that we defined gave a clear picture of how addiction is, and psychologically how we was impacted by it. But I just want, just the minister is back now, so I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Doc. Your internet had froze over there. Islam.
Islam. The gratitude, Council General. Did y'all hear me reading from? I'll read from the top. A peek into mental slavery. A peek into what Noble Drew Ali describes as mental slavery that you have now is to take a brief glimpse into the acceptance of the fact traumas are the deep roots of any nation's tree of slavery, especially the chattel slavery of the Moors from northwest, southwest shores of Africa. Without centuries of restless, traumatic conditioning to the psychic of each generation, slavery in the United States of America would not have been as successful as the infamous death blow of Karen Abyss. Mental slavery is basically defined as mental conditioning. When a man's psychic has been altered and an island to that of a slave, contrary to popular belief, the 13th Amendment did not free African descendants from lawful slavery in the United States. Amendments are modifications or changes of existing laws, usually for the better. These improvements are written forms of abolishment, additions, or otherwise corrections designed to remove defects or faults from established forms of law. In the case of the 13th Amendment, it was designed to abolish the law of the institution of slavery. Originally written in the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, and 3, and clause, Article 1, Section 2, and Clause 3. Here, it must be understood, especially by the descendants of ex-slaves, the full extent of congressional power was confined to the abolishment of its slave laws from the United States Constitution. Although the Europeans used these forces to create a genocidal crime of the African slave trade and US laws to cover up the international offense, they never possessed the power to actually free the people that they enslaved. While this Constitution, the 13th Amendment, clearly marks the first step towards physical manumission, it did not disturb one link from the fetters of psychological bondage that lie welded to the minds of the ex-slaves. Mental slavery is the worst remnant of US slavery suffered by so-called Negroes, Blacks, and colored people in DC. Yet, because it is intangible and stealthy in its effort, mental slavery had gone largely unnoticed and unabridged since 1865. Noble Ali said, "I have come to save you from the mental slavery that you have now." The functioning constitution of the human memory system rests upon the availability of information previously learned. It is the storage capacity of the mind where acquired knowledge, be they good or bad, are retained. A mental file cabinet with unlimited abilities to reserve the learned, its sole function is to record, retain, and what's most commonly known, remembrance. Learning is basically the acquisition of information, and one's memory is where the information is stored. And I want to stop there. And basically what it's saying is, because we know that the mind never forgets. That's why they make that statement. Once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you'll never forget. You know, it's because the mind of soul has implanted that technique to ride a bicycle in your, like like I was saying here, or like I said there, into your mental cabinet. It's where we store all of the information, mental file cabinet. And just like we can store negative information in there, divine and positive information can be stored also. But unlike, and I usually use this parable, unlike Yehoshua, he was being taught in the womb, given these lessons in the womb. When he came out, he had a lot of divine lessons on his dial plate. So he wasn't hanging on corners and running into bars. He just wasn't, you know? And what he said was, what I've done, you can do and even greater. So we have that capacity. We have that ability, the same ability he had. So I wanna stop there and Colonel Moore, let me skip and read this part. This is pretty much important too. It says the mind with its functions of willing, reasoning, understanding, thinking, and remember never sleeps and needs exercise of thought development from which it grows. Most people would be able to save themselves if they were to only think. In the case of the Moors of America during their Holocaust of slavery, their babies were forbidden to read, be educated, and interpret dreams of the past. They had no history of themselves to remember because it was not to be taught. There was memory of self, worth, accomplishments, esteem to recall. In the post years of these traumas, the once proud African nationals and their consciousness of freedom, like a descent head of state, was laid comatose in the shallow grave for the world to see. Where one loses their memory of freedom is where self-enslavement becomes the norm. Hence, the NBC was designed without the Center for Freedom. They have never known freedom and can never obtain freedom. And I read that portion because and I've said from time to time, I don't know what freedom feels like. Because the reality of it is the 73 years I've been on this planet, I ain't never been free. You know, and I had to find that out coming through More Science Temple of the Moon and elevating into the government. But it's a lot of my people out there that think they're free, but can't see that their whole life is based around granted privileges. And with that, I'll say this one.
Oh, Minister, gratitude.
Gratitude.
I want to do. Are we going to skip the sweet science? That's the secret science.
Yeah, because of time, let's skip that and go to the video.
Yeah, the video is not that long at all, so we will go to the video. Okay. Again, we do not own the rights to this video. Video is being used by us for educational and classroom purposes only. We are only using it for teaching purposes. self-acceptance, and emotional repression.
Hi, I'm Irma Botvin. I'm here with Dr. Larry Berkelhammer. Dr. Berkelhammer has researched mindfulness practices to increase mastery and well-being. Larry, on your website you talk about acceptance and also about emotional repression.
Yeah.
Could you say more about that?
I'd like to. So the way I use acceptance is the way it's used in the contextual behavioral sciences. It refers to acceptance of our thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, acceptance of our inner subjective experience. You know, what happens is we have thoughts that are unpleasant. We have sensations that are unpleasant. We have emotions that are unpleasant. We want to get rid of them, resist them. What that does is it creates additional emotional distress, which then creates physiological stress. There's an expression, what you resist persists. One of my teachers, Stephen Hayes, who created acceptance and commitment therapy, said, if you don't want it, you'll have it. So
the more attention you put on it, it stays.
The more attention we put to resisting something,
yeah,
the stronger it gets. So the idea is to accept it. Now, accepting it doesn't mean dwelling in the misery. It means we continue to work towards what we want. But instead of resisting what we don't want, we accept what we want while working towards what we want. So it's a two-pronged approach. So I hadn't mentioned self-acceptance before, but you know, that's how we develop self-acceptance. We develop self-acceptance by accepting our experiences, by accepting our feelings and our thoughts. That's acceptance of self-experiences, acceptance of self. So when we allow ourselves to accept our inner experiences, we gain confidence that we can handle them. No matter how uncomfortable they are, we gain confidence that we can handle them. That leads to mastery and well-being.
I see. Yeah.
Let me give you an example of something that happened to me. I was presenting to a group of peers, to a group of psychotherapists several years ago. And I was really, really anxious about it because they knew what I was doing. And I had this in my head that some of them had been practicing much longer than I had been practicing.
They knew what you were presenting on, you mean?
Yeah. And I thought, they're going to be judging me. They're going to be all over me. I was so nervous. I was scared. I mean, I was really scared. I tried cognitive restructuring. I tried changing my thoughts from the unhealthy thoughts that I had to healthier thoughts. I even tried self-hypnosis. Didn't work. What finally worked, with like 30 seconds left to go before I was going to be on stage, I just gave up. And I just accepted, this is what I'm feeling. I am scared to death. And I just allowed myself to fully own my terror. And you know what happened?
Poof.
I felt better.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I mean by acceptance.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating. Great story.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for telling us about all of that.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Minister.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Haven't already risen. The reason I chose that, you know, it kind of merged with the title Acceptance of Soul. Have a go first. It's Council General. Get words of wisdom on that.
Can you repeat that again? My attention was someplace else.
Okay. Do you have any words of wisdom to give us on that short video?
Oh, yes. As I was listening to it, he said something that stuck out, just like our Prophet Noble Jew Ali tells us that the thought is the cause of it all. Coming into this movement and learning that, you get an idea where you need to start. You get an idea because your question on the floor deals with that. It says, where do we begin with this deeper look into our mental life cabinet? And everything happens above the neck, because say for instance, I want to cut this hand off right here, I'm just using this as in a scenario. This is an inert manifestation because see, this can't move without this being connected to this. So it's all about how I think. It's how I think, and not knowing how to think properly, I create all types of conditions because we're talking about cause and effect. So if I want to, where I must start, I must go back into my story. One part of the lessons in moral science is the knowledge of history and the reliance upon our law gives a more strength to act in the cause of justice. So when you trace yourself back, this is where you trace yourself back through your thought pattern. Your thought pattern takes you, it's one of the the actions of your soul that you're using is going back into your memory as far back as you possibly can. And as a result of that, as you go back into your memory, you get a chance and opportunity to take a look at some things. Now, of course, you need a guide. You need a guide, especially in the very beginning when you're tracing yourself back, because the way that the mind is made to become whatever it believes. So if you haven't worked out your story or been able to discern your story, what is of the art and what is of the not, the experiences that you have gone through, you will make them out to be real. You will make them out to be real. And like in the video, he says, the more that you embrace something, the more that you struggle against something, the more stronger you make it to be. So like if I'm trying to fight, if I go through a abusive relationship and I'm in counseling, and however, I'm fighting the idea I'm fighting the trauma that I experience in that relationship. The more I fight, that's why you need a guide, because the more I fight that feeling or that traumatic experience, the more intense it becomes. The more intense it becomes. So you need somebody who is experienced to guide you up out of that state, that knows how to deal with the mind. And this is when psychology or psychologists come in or mastermind come in. This is what Prophet Noble Jew Ali is. He's a master psychologist. He's a mastermind. He's a master Egyptian adept Egyptian sage or Kemetic, yes, alchemist. We're dealing with the chemistry of life. We're dealing with our own psyche. That's why here in the Maryland Consulate, we deal so much with the psyche and we always instruct anybody who study with us to address our psyche, because this is where it all begins. in chapter 7 talks about Yehoshua was asked, what is truth? And he was talking about going into truth and being able, I'm paraphrasing, going into the truth and learning how to discern it from the art and the not. Because even the things that are an illusion that had a time when it began, we make those things appear to be real based on how we think of them. You see? Because we always thought this was us. The body is who we were. You know, when you ask somebody today, you go out there right now and say, who are you? They're going to identify themselves with the body and the soul. And you try to tell them that they're a spirit and part of God, they say, man, get up out of here with that religious stuff. But it's a reality, it's fact. It's fact. So having when wisdom speaks from the highest plane of spirit life, you taking people on a whole nother level. You're going deeper into the mind. You're going deeper into thought activity. Because that's what we're dealing with, thought activity. And discerning the nature of this thought activity. When we discern the nature of this thought activity, we can begin to heal ourselves. But how we do that is we have to accept the truth about ourselves. A lot of us run from that. We run from who we really are. And you have examples of this in the biblical sense, where a lot of people was called to the Creator. I'm just giving you this little example, and how they failed. They refused to face who they really are, and they wind up ending up in other types of conditions, in the belly of a whale, and that's just symbolic. But ending up in other types of conditions as a direct result of not accepting who the Creator made them and what the Creator made them. Being a spirit and a part of Him, that's why it's so important. So everything begins right here. Your mind can heal you if you tap into it properly and you guide it right, and you change your thought pattern, because the thought pattern is tied to the impulsiveness, the obsession, and the compulsion, the conditions, and et cetera, et cetera. And so as it is tied to those things, it's also tied to what is internal. Because when we start healing, we're able to get to that place in our minds where we can just stop thinking and be at peace. You understand? Stop thinking, although I know some people may say, well, how we do that? That's what meditation is for. Is to get to that point where you're able to stop the thinking and be in that place where it's harmony, it's harmonious, and tranquility, and tranquil, and things of that nature, where this is where the true self actually lies at, in that space. So everything start right above the neck. I don't want to take too much time up, and I know you got some things, but we go right within. We start, and that's where the prophet said, on the nearest place to meet Allah or meet God is in the heart. But he's not talking about this physical heart in our chest. He's talking about the heart of our mind. So gratitude. Thank you for calling on me, Minister. Gratitude.
So with limited time, we do have a question on the floor. So if you can keep your answer to approximately 5 minutes. Where do we begin with this deeper look into our mental file cabinet? Where do we begin with this deeper look into our mental file cabinet? I'm kind of interested to hear what the goddess Williams El-Bey has to say about this question. Where do we begin with this deeper look into our mental file cabinet?
Islam, I would say assessing your thoughts, categorizing them, putting them, where they belong. Because the mind is always going. So it's always thinking. If you're looking out the window, your mind is processing what you're looking at, and it's also processing what you are thinking. So I would say definitely getting those thoughts in order and having an understanding of them, not so much trying to block them out or push them away, but analyzing them and trying to figure out, what the thoughts really mean. Are they your thoughts? Are they the thoughts of somebody that you you saw yesterday, or what it is? So getting to understand what the thoughts are, and the ones that need to go, send them away. Islam.
Islam, gratitude for that measure, Goddess. I knew you had it, and I knew you would come with it. Islam, Dr. Anwar, what say you?
Islam, Hamanoid. The reason I wanted to camel back off of the Counselor General when he made the statement about we need a guide. We need a guide, just like mothers are the first teachers. Like I explained earlier, Yehoshua was being taught in the womb. Mothers are the first teachers, and when you embark on this this journey to figure out who you are and whom you are, you have to put people around you that's on that same path. Before I came into that other arena, the conversation in the group around me was either jail, drugs, institutions, women. That was the extent of it, But then when when the law and the prophet guided me to the Most High's temple, that whole concept changed. So you got to put yourself around the right people. And Cousin Jenna was saying that we are gods. Just like my son is a part of me because Allah planted that seed into his mother, so he becomes a part of both of us. If we are, and they say it in Christianity a lot, we made in the image and after the likeness of the Creator. And some still don't believe it. But if you go to Psalms 82, 5 and 6, listen to what it says. It says, for people that's familiar or not familiar with the Piscean records, the Bible, it says, they do not know, nor do they understand. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are unstable. And then 6 says, I say, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. That's it right there. Because a lot of people's life depend on this Piscean record. It lets you know your status right there. We're children of the Most High, so that makes us a God. Not the Creator, but we have those attributes. We have those attributes, but you have to work on them. Peace and love.
Peace and love, and that's the intent on Temple of Perfected Man, is getting into your deific will and getting yourself to the point where you climb that ladder and you make sure that you are taking care of all those gangling pieces and making things straight. We are made in the image of the Creator of all, and we have been given attributes to be gods right here on earth. We need to practice every day. Every day. You sleep, putting yourself to sleep with good thoughts, positive thoughts, uplifting thoughts, awakening in positive environments. You know, almost you know that you can see the nobility in a lot of us. And you see the nobility in a lot of us, and basically what's happening is you're rising above the petty, above the fray. You're elevating. You're putting yourself where you need to be. Magnificent class indeed. We will have to delve more into this because I'm sure that this is a subject that others want to address. So, any closing words, Council General?
Yeah, I just want to put out before we leave, a scenario picture so our people can see, using a scenario of jumping into a pool and not knowing how to swim. The individual would possibly drown. And they would drown because they have not learned the laws of swimming. So as it is, when you don't know how your mind works, if you don't know how your mind works, you'll misuse it. See, your mind works according to law. Law governs all events. Our thoughts are the only tools with which we work. Our mind is the only area in which we produce results. But our physical conditions and our other experiences are the places where we see the results produced by the tools of our thought through our own minds. So cause and effect. And when we see it from that perspective, we're able to slow things down and take a look. The only other thing that goes along with that is accepting the responsibility to change it. Because if you don't put time in with yourself, intimacy, that's what intimacy means. Into me, I see. So when you don't take the time out to go within yourself and deal with your own psyche, you will not be able to change your conditions because most people try to change their conditions by using things outside of themselves like drugs, alcohol, other people, places and things, people, places and things. And those are mind pacifiers, although they may cool things off for a minute, for a little while. But for the most part, after euphoria wear off, you go right back to that same state. So I just wanted to leave our people. This was a powerful class and a powerful subject, and then we definitely will have to come back to this. Gratitude, Islam.
Islam, Dr. Anwar Aliel, what say you?
I just wanted to end it with, like Council General was saying, this universe operates off of a law of cause and effect. And whatever you put out there, it's going to come back to you, whether you're conscious of this law or not. But once you're conscious of it, then you be very cognitive of what you're thinking, because everything starts with a thought. And is it an easy journey? Not really. It'll get easier, but like I said, I've been on the planet 73 years, and maybe 27, 28 years ago, I just started getting this information, So I was kind of crazy for a long time. But I know I'm on the right path now, and I'm grateful to Allah and the Prophet. Peace and love.
Islamism. They say, ooh, child, things are going to get easy.
Things are going to get easy.
Child, things are going to get brighter. Right. Well, we will close out with the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nation. Is the Secretary of State available for that?
Islam. Grand class as always. Intimate and Moors, keep up the good work. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. You are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother has given you suck. Let the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when you separate in the world, remember the relations that bind you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother's in adversity, assist him. If thy sister's in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortune of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, and your love to each other. Islam Moors.
Islam as a grand class.
Islam Moors. Islam.
Peace and gratitude. Peace and love to you all. Long live Moorish America.
Yeah.
Long live Moorish Americans.
Gratitude.
Islam, yes.
We hope all was well, Deputy Council Freeman. There, I see you made it. Islam, gratitude.
Islam. Subhanallah. Oh my goodness, my phone was dead. I'm sorry. I look forward to catching up on this class. I'm gonna go ahead and listen to the playback as soon as it's published.
Islam, gratitude. We know your spirit was here with us, brother.
Yeah.
Oh man. Woo-wee.
Deputy Council General.
Islam.
Always a pleasure.
Always.
Always a pleasure. Islam.
Always. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace and love.
Thanks for showing up.
And Minister Nicole,
absolutely. I'm listening to this playback.
We're gonna work with that clubhouse, and I probably had to get you to co-host with me and let you show me how to work those demonstrations.
Islam, just let me know.
Okay, gratitude.
Peace and love, everybody.
Peace and love, Goddess and Queen.